Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition, special NCAA Tournament Frozen Four edition of Inside Hockey East. Inside Hockey East presented by Black Diamond Networks, the experts in technical staffing, building one relationship at a time. Third in our series of special segments for our presenting sponsor, Black Diamond Networks. We're about to build a couple of new relationships, if you will, with the folks that we're going to meet here today. And today we're going to focus on the recruiting element of the Black Diamond Networks corporate structure. And with us we have Eileen Clinton and Peter Rodriguez. A little bit of background on both. Eileen is a recruiter with the Life Science and Technology Division at BDN and has been with the company for almost a decade now and certainly experienced great career growth, great example of how somebody can come to Black Diamond Networks and have an opportunity to work their way along as she has to her current status in the recruiting area of the company. A graduate of Nichols College, where she also, once again, very common theme that we've talked about with Black Diamond Networks, participated as a varsity athlete in the sport of field hockey, started out in Andover, and probably is very happy that she's out of Andover and in much more warmer climes of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, in the Florida office of the Black Diamond Networks company. And we welcome her in. Eileen, great to have you join us here.
It's so wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Eileen, really a theme that we want to explore with you is the fact that you have had a number of different roles during your time at Black Diamond Networks and now have worked your way along to being one of the recruiters. And I would suspect that a very welcoming atmosphere at Black Diamond Networks to allow you to be on the track that you're on now and to be on this path that has brought you to your current position.
I couldn't agree more. This company has seen me through a lot of years and has helped me develop professionally as an employee of Black Diamond Network. So I am very thankful for the company in and of itself for everything they've provided me. It is very true. I have held many different positions here. I have started out in their accounting payroll department and then thus moved over to marketing, where I was recognized in there to move to sales. And then from sales, I helped develop the clinical department and help support the recruiting team here in clinical. So I do look to my colleague Peter out in Arizona for a lot of this in recruiting. He is the man to beat. So it's good to have healthy competition up in this place.
Indeed, and as you've alluded to, a lot of pressure on him now as we bring in Peter Rodriguez, the standard setter here in recruiting. He is a senior recruiter specializing in FDA Life Sciences Division at BDN. Been with the company now, Peter, for over 7 years and has accomplished quite a bit during that time, overseeing and developing other recruiters, bringing them along, putting them in the process and allowing them to feel comfortable as they go forward on their own in their own career paths for the company. He has a degree from Culver Stockton College in Missouri and was a basketball captain there and studied both philosophy and religion, originally from the Phoenix area. So not surprisingly, settled back there once again, much warmer climes than I speak to both of you today. Not that I'm jealous at all, as I talk to you from Greater Boston. And
it doesn't come through in the tone at all.
That's right. Hey, it's almost April. That's how I look at it right now. Things have got to get better. They always do. It's one thing history's taught me anyway. It's going to get warmer eventually. But Peter is in the Phoenix office for Black Diamond Networks, part of the Black Diamond Network corporate structure there with the offices, the subsidiary offices from Andover in both Florida and Phoenix. We welcome Peter in. And Peter, as Eileen has alluded to, you really are the bar is set high with what you've accomplished in the world of recruiting and how you were able to position recruiters to make them comfortable as they assume those roles for Black Diamond Networks.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Bernie. That was awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to get to know us, and I just do all that I can and try to adjust with the times as we grow here at Black Diamond, and really appreciate the opportunity and everything here. Also, yes, the weather is great. We got our swim trunks on almost every day, so living.
Mine are only in season, so I'm still waiting. But nevertheless, Peter, I've got to ask you. We've talked in a moment here about the whole presence of sports, the importance of athletics in your life, and how that's helped. But what about studying philosophy and religion in college? Is that something you've been able to implement into your daily existence as an employee working for Black Diamond Networks? Does that come in handy at all?
Absolutely. It is a very interesting major to have in college. I was actually studying religion and philosophy more or less towards the philosophy side in order to become a lawyer. And then I realized pretty quickly how much schooling becoming a lawyer takes. So I tried to adjust that major, and then I was so deep into it that I ended up just finishing it. But it is very interesting. You kind of look at the deeper parts of life and the deeper questions in just the way of thought. So that does translate when you're trying to build relationships with high-end, high-level people who you're constantly having discussions with doctors and PhD analytical chemists and all different types of people. So finding different ways to connect in a 30-minute conversation, or even in sometimes a 5 or 10-minute conversation, to match that person's tone and build a solid relationship on a first conversation. That major does play a part, kind of being able to understand all types of backgrounds. Me and Eileen talk to, people from all across the country. So having that background with school does help. It does help. I wouldn't say like I'm just sitting here talking religion and philosophy with people every day, but just kind of it gives me a better understanding on life.
Indeed, I suspect it will. The only thing I can offer about the melding of philosophy and religious studies is a really bad pun. Aquinas can, but Emmanuel can't. You've probably heard that before.
I have not, but that sounds fun.
Anyway, back to more serious pursuits here. I can't help but think, having both of you on the line here, Peter, you being a senior recruiter, and part of your responsibility being able to put people in positions to succeed as recruiters. Were you involved in bringing Eileen to the point that she is now as a recruiter? Did you have much interaction in that area in the company?
I can't take credit for Eileen's initial success as a recruiter. I know she has picked my brain a couple times, but she was on the other side for quite some time and was able to make the transition. So me and her communicated over the years, and she might have taken some of my tips and tricks, but I think Eileen learned from a lot of other pretty good recruiters, and she's actually doing very, very well for only being in the recruiting game for a little over 2 years.
Well, Peter, I guess a question for you and then for Eileen. We can't help but talk about the world conditions since March 11th of 2020 and how things have changed. Peter, as somebody who is a senior recruiter and has been in the game for a while, if you will, how has it changed and evolved from a recruiting standpoint in terms of the adjustments that you've had to make in order to be successful since last year over this past year?
Well, I would say if you aren't okay with change and okay with figuring out how to adapt to changes, then it's just going to be hard for you to be successful in any type of sales or staffing industry. This specific instance that happened over the last year was a quick adjustment that all of Black Diamond had to endure, and the basically the market going from basically wide open to shut down to open in certain aspects was the main switch. So when I say open in certain aspects, there was just specific skill sets that we now had to focus on that we might not have focused on before the shutdown. And once the shutdown happened, because we are in the FDA medical device and biotech and pharma field, there's a lot of opportunity out there, but we had to make the adjustment. We had to throw out a lot of our old tactics and be able to focus on a specific either skill set or bill rate or company or things like that. So a lot changed, and if only the strong survive in those types of instances. And I guess that I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, I absolutely wanted to be able to get that perspective from somebody that more of a veteran presence. And Eileen, for you, just to give people some insight of their interest in maybe pursuing this particular area that Black Diamond Networks has, what about a typical day for you as a recruiter? What does it entail, and what is your focus and responsibility from day to day in order to be successful in terms of the goals that you set?
Absolutely. I always kind of compare it back to any type of sporting event you've ever been in. It doesn't matter what sport it was. Your head's always on a swivel when it comes to recruiting. I was very fortunate enough to have held different positions here, but on the sales side, you have one goal only, and it's to maintain that relationship with the client. But on the recruiting side, I have learned that it's a lot more responsibility. You are multitasking on an everyday level, and that is supporting your colleagues, making sure you're committing to your candidates and finding the right position for them, but also getting on the phone with those clients for the sales guys and being able to really narrow in what those skill sets are that they need support in. So I feel like that's really imperative, and definitely playing sports, as you know, even if you're the first line of offense in anything that you're doing, you're the first line of defense. So you always have to kind of keep your head on the swivel and make sure you know what's going on.
And once again, Peter, being able to offer to you, Eileen has mentioned, made a couple of references, not surprisingly, to sports background that she has. You've got a strong background, also mentioned being a college basketball captain. What about lessons learned there and your background there, and how that's contributed to your success with Black Diamond Networks?
Absolutely. I was actually a college point guard and in basketball, and I always refer everything back to basketball because a lot of sports can imitate life in many different ways, as coaches are could be your boss or and your teammates or your coworkers, and then the numbers on the board as we're in sales, that's one of the things we look at as like the scoreboard.
Yep.
So I'm always competitive, and as Eileen alluded to, we as recruiters always have to keep our head on a swivel. I consider the recruiter the point guard of the company. As a point guard in basketball, you kind of have to understand where everyone's going to be and understand all five positions.
And you're the playmaker.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's right.
So you're coming in and you know where the center is supposed to be. The center probably can't do your job, but you should be able to do the center's job just because you're the point guard. And that's kind of how we are as recruiters, and we're kind of directing the market to these sales guys as well as guiding them to the basket or passing them the ball by qualifying their recs, kind of pushing them on bill rates and tag teaming certain aspects of the job with them, throwing out marketplace information and telling them to go get it. Everything kind of correlates back to sport if you make it that way, and which it really is if you think about it in that aspect.
So really it's the equivalency of being able to run the point and make that pass into the paint for a layup. Make it as easy as possible on the other end.
Make it a layup. That's what we try to do for our sales guys every day.
Indeed. And Eileen, is there a template that you work from? Is there a profile, if you will, of the contractors that you typically target or try to target on a somewhat of a regular basis from day to day and week to week?
That's a great question. So with Black Diamond, we hold a lot of different disciplines, and some are within FDA-regulated industries, and some are without. So government contracts, a lot of hardware, software, and things like that. But me specifically, I pertain to the clinical space. So anything that has to deal with clinical trials, clinical studies. I focus within the regulatory space of things. So early research and development is really my bread and butter right now. And as you know, with the pandemic that happened last year, I can't tell you how many people that I have talked to who are either looking to get into the space or who have already been in the space for now. We're going on almost, 18 months now with the pandemic. So I've had scientists who've worked on developing the COVID vaccine, and I've also worked with the guys who have been administering the vaccine to these patients, and everyone who's been involved in volunteering in the clinical trials. So it's been very rewarding in the fact that we're all kind of collaboratively working towards this initiative and getting the vaccine out there, but it has been a process. And I know Peter has been more on we call it L&T, so Life Sciences Division, so he handles all the quality, regulatory, and validation aspects of it. So these guys are in the trenches working on the manufacturing line, so we kind of cover it all. So it's been really rewarding working in that, and also exhausting. It's been very busy.
I can imagine you've really been on the front lines of the whole different level of awareness. And Peter, as Eileen was pointing us to, as far as the life sciences, I would suspect that the emphasis for you and your position has changed, maybe rather dramatically, I suspect, over the last year in terms of what your maybe typical contractor is, or somebody that you would be maybe targeting on more of a frequent basis, let us say, than maybe you were previously.
Yeah, so with every year almost for me, it seemed like a different skill set that I'm going after, but it's all in relation to quality validation or regulatory space. And these are a lot of products that are either being developed or already on the market, so a lot of post-market stuff. So when the pandemic hit, it was like now there's a huge focus for clinical, which is where Eileen's day now just got very, very, very busy. But there still needs to be production for those products that are out there, and some of them are being pumped out more now because of the basically the focus that the vaccine has put on, and the pharmaceutical companies have kind of got more of, like, people in the United States feel like they need them more. So, like, I feel like it's continuing to grow. And the one good thing about Black Diamond, too, is that we are growing as well. So we're seeing the market flow into different types of skill sets, and we're constantly creating and kind of opening up different avenues that we might not have in the future. So the new skill sets that keep coming out that we're realizing that we're lacking, that's what we've been focusing on, and we're taking projects and getting bids from these big companies that have these needs, and now we have to go out and refocus on different skill sets that we normally would have, but they're just a tad bit different for whatever reason or another, based off manufacturing and processing.
You know, as I've gained familiarity over the last, last 3 years, my relationship here with Black Diamond Networks, it seems like a common theme is how long employees are invested with the company. And I guess, but first, Eileen, your thoughts, and then Peter, about the longevity that you both enjoyed. Eileen, we've talked about you were a decade and evolving to the point now as a recruiter. So first up, you, and then Peter, the fact that it's been 7 years for you.
It may seem like I'm old over here.
You're aging Eileen very fast.
In a good way, I hope. I age like fine wine.
Absolutely. Aging gracefully. Exactly.
Exactly. This company has been nothing but a family to me. So I started out younger with the company and held a certain amount of positions with them. But also, when they recognize that you're putting in the effort and that you're willing to, make a move and be able to take on more responsibilities, they find that way to find a good place for you here. So for me, it's come down to the company itself, the people I've worked with. I've now had the opportunity to work in 2 different offices, and between my home back in Andover and those guys up there, New England is a very different personality, very strong. We come in hot, and we know it, and I love these guys up there. Coming back down here to Florida is much more tranquil. We're very, it's a young environment, but they are ambitious, so it's really great to see that contrast between the 2 offices. There's a lot of room for growth down here, so for me personally, I owe a lot to Black Diamond for giving me the opportunity to switch gears and transfer down from the cold, because I am not a I cannot tell you I am not a winter girl. So being down here has been, I'm very fortunate to be here. So I owe a lot to them. And that being in this industry, I'll tell you right now, it has everything to do with, I look at my bosses like my coaches.
Yeah.
They expect a lot out of you. They expect, to hit those type of marks and deadlines. And when it's game time, they expect you to perform. And if you don't, they let you know, and where there's room for improvement, because everybody knows that there's always room for improvement, and then, you kind of take what they give you and turn it into your own destiny. So I've been very thankful for that opportunity here. It's helped me grow, and that's definitely, my sports background has led me into that kind of pathway, so very fortunate for it. I don't know if Peter can speak more on that than I can, so.
You're definitely in the right place there in the sun, and the climate is to your liking. So that's important right there from right out of the gate.
I owe a lot more, that's for sure. Everyone's a lot nicer down here than they are up north. Don't tell them I said that.
Exactly. No, different, but the different lifestyle is to your liking and approval. And Peter, as far as your perspective, 7 years in the position that you've had with Black Diamond Networks. Anything that you can add to that as far as why the longevity? Why do people seem to find a comfort level with Black Diamond Networks in order to succeed for their own personal gain and growth, and of course, as a result of that, translating to the company overall?
Yeah, well, I'll start. I'll try to give a brief outlook on my beginning and upbringing. I'm from Arizona. I went to school in the Midwest, and then when I graduated college, I thought I was going pro, but I tore my ACL, and it just didn't work out. And when I started job hunting, I had no idea what staffing was. And I actually started at a competitor. And when I was there for a year, I didn't know how I felt about it, but I knew there was a lot of money to be made. And I got contacted by a guy named Brett Sarasoli shortly after my first year at Oxford, and we had a really good conversation. Long story short, I ended up making the switch. When I came here to Black Diamond, I was like living on a futon at my friend's house. So I'm like still out of college, not really knowing what I'm gonna do. I don't really fully understand staffing, and I didn't know what it was. So then I come here, and Black Diamond is a complete switch from Oxford, our competitor, and then I've also talked to other staffing agencies, and it just seemed different. But then, like Eileen alluded to, I just took it as a sport, and these guys, my bosses, and Brett and Tom Lane and Sklar, they're kind of like the coaches and the owner of the team, so they will challenge you, and I took that in stride. I actually liked it, so I was like the guy on the team where, like, if I'm not hearing from the coach, like, there's something that's probably wrong. I should be getting pushed. Or maybe I'm doing something wrong if I'm not hearing from them. So they let you know. And then, you know, as I grew here, the opportunity to make, you know, an insane amount of money, like, you know, continued to grow. And I saw the end of the tunnel, so I continued to work and work and work. And the flexibility that they have with our overall work style and our life balance was just really, it made sense to make this a career and stay as long as I could. And now I'm at the point where I'm at right now where I just feel so comfortable and happy with life. And also the dialogue that I have between the owners that are in Boston, whom we barely see each other, but we don't have to, because it's just about, you know, having a conversation every now and then and understanding your worth and your role, and them reiterating your worth to you is huge, which is really rare in a bigger company, or even even smaller companies. It's kind of rare to have that dialogue, that open dialogue with bosses and owners and VPs. So I lasted this long, and I don't really have a plan to ever leave, and it's been very lucrative for me. And as long as you take it seriously and are open and are flexible and are organized and can change with the times, then you can really stay as long as you want. That's my take on it.
No, indeed, well put. And my thought is really, from having an opportunity to spend time with you both, this family dynamic really puts you in a position to truly be pursuing a career. It's not a job, it's a career. And I think both of you are examples of that, and particularly with how well you've done and how happy you are with your current quality of life, which is obviously imperative for success. The final question with Black Diamond Networks having a national presence and having offices now from Andover to Florida to Arizona, what about the team aspect? And you both have discussed and given us some perspective about the team aspect. What about on a nationwide level? How do you work together, and how has this been an element that has helped Black Diamond Networks overall?
Oh, Bernie, if you don't mind me taking this first, I would love it.
Okay. That was a jump ball. Sorry, Peter, the point guard. You didn't get to jump very often for the jump ball, but there you go.
Buddy.
Ladies first.
Okay, Eileen.
I'm so glad that you asked this question, because it really comes back to how you said, hey, Peter, how did you influence Eileen? Like, how did everything work out with you two? For me, I consider my internal employees my practice competition. In practice, you still don't want to lose. You're practicing against these guys. I mean, I take it very serious.
Sure.
So if Peter ends up, you know, getting the win, I'm happy for him. But, you know, it gets you all fiery inside to get that next one. So I'm very thankful for that. And when it comes to external competition and the other competitors that are out there, when they win, that's a hard game loss for me. But because you're happy because your team won, but at the same time you weren't the one that got the basket, or you weren't the one that scored the goal. So for me, I'm all about it if my teammate scores, because that means our points go up. But at the same time, it wasn't me doing my job, so it kind of lights that fire under me. Working in our office, Peter, has been nothing but wonderful, but I've gained so much experience from, we have a principal up in Andover, Andrea Queso. Brett Sarasoli has been so motivating. I've learned a lot from being down here in the Florida office from Austin Griffin. Like, there's just so many people that I could honestly thank for them for pushing me the way they do. So there's that family aspect where they kind of motivate you, but that's how we kind of work together. You're happy for one another, but it does light that fire, because you want to be just as good as the guy next to you, if not even better. I don't know if Peter can attest to that. I don't know if I kind of phrased it the way we would talk about it with each other, but
no, I would agree. I would just add on to that a little bit more, but the overall, that's exactly how it kind of works. I mean, we're kind of all in practice with each other, but offices, we as recruiters have to build relationships with the other account managers, because there's two sides of the Black Diamond, religiously. Like every day we're talking to people from Andover and from Florida, and then even in office we got to make sure we're talking to them, because these sales guys have the option to send your resume or not send your resume, and that's just the internal fight. So the better relationship you have with these guys, it's kind of like building a really good relationship with the guy off the court or, off the field, to make sure that your camaraderie in the game is just so in sync. So we're constantly going back and forth, and then us as recruiters compete as if like we're playing against each other, because we don't really need to have like a great relationship with each other, but we want to, for the nuances of being a recruiter, like referrals over to other people that we might be in contact with, and things like that. So we're recruiters, I feel like, are more have easier personalities to go at and combat with, versus sales guys. So we got to like treat each relationship as its own individual little life. It's like the game within the game within the game. But that's just the next level of recruiting over here.
A different skill set that would be involved, and really a combination, an aggregate of a number of skills. You got to show, you got to be adaptable as in many things, and versatile in order to be successful, to be able to bring it home as a recruiter or in sales and make the whole thing function as one. And once again, it keeps coming back to the family. Family and team seem to be the prevailing themes that I have come in contact with as I've explored deeper in these opportunities that I've had with Black Diamond Networks, as we have here today. And just want to thank both of you. Very, very enlightening, informative, as always, as all of our visits with Black Diamond Networks, our presenting sponsor for Inside Hockey East and Inside Atlantic Hockey has been this year. And thanks for making me feel a little bit like the late Larry King. I could say Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, you're on the air. Phoenix, Arizona, Andover, Mass. Okay, I'm keeping Larry's spirit alive here today. And want to thank you for that, one of my great broadcast titles. And want to thank my guest here from Black Diamond Networks, Eileen Clinton in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Very nice meeting you today. Thank you very much.
So nice to meet you. Thank you so much for taking time, and thank you for selecting me for this. It's been a joy.
Absolutely. And to Peter Rodriguez in Phoenix, Arizona. All the best to you, Peter. And I hope that our paths will collectively will cross again with both of you. Maybe in the Andover office sometime post-pandemic, we'll all have a chance to meet.
Absolutely, Bernie.
Yeah. Peter loves visiting the Northeast.
Okay.
I love it.
Only certain months of the year for Eileen, though, when she comes home, I'm sure. She times that accordingly.
Negotiate on the August-September timeframe. That's great.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. All the best, and appreciate you joining us here this week for our special segment.
Thanks so much, Bernie.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you to Eileen Clinton and Peter Rodriguez for our special segment for our presenting sponsor, Black Diamond Networks. Once again, here on Inside Hockey East, Black Diamond Networks, the experts in technical staffing, building one relationship at a time. We doubled that this week. We build two relationships here on the program. Thanks very much for joining us. Black Diamond Networks provides highly skilled contract professionals to organizations within the life sciences, engineering, and information technology sectors. While other firms are busy sending over resumes, BDN specializes in submitting qualified individuals who have been vetted by our expert team to meet your specific needs. By doing so, we enable our customers to address their critical staffing needs on time and within budget. Let us help you with your long-term success. Black Diamond Networks is experiencing rapid growth nationwide. Our talent acquisition team is eager to meet successful career changers that classify themselves as confident, coachable, and competitive individuals. BDN offers an impressive training program, unlimited income potential, and a long-term opportunity for growth. To learn more about joining our great team as an account executive or recruiter today, please visit www.blackdiamondnet.com or call 978-474-9980. Our offices are located in Andover, Mass., Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, in San Jose, California.